Today on Bike Trekking with Carl, I am on the Bridgewater Canal. I get the first-hand account from somebody who was actually on the canal the day it breached, causing a major incident, one of the worst things we have seen in this area since the 70s. I then go on to look at the actual location itself, and before that, I actually have to tell you something really important about this canal. The reason I cannot recommend you come here and try to cycle the whole thing, so stay tuned for that. This is a new channel, a growing channel. Your likes, your subscriptions really do help me out. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Good morning and welcome to Runcorn. Here we are at the start of the Bridgewater Canal, where I'm about to do the entire canal from here all the way into Manchester. So that's 48 kilometres, that's the distance. So let's see what we've got to do. Oh, I'm pretty excited. I am excited about this one today because I've never done any of this one before. I think it's quite a popular canal. A lot of people seem to be doing it, so yeah. Let's go. Setting out, I was feeling really refreshed and ready for this ride. I'd taken a short break before this video because I was feeling burnt out from the whole YouTube process. Editing these videos really does take a lot of my time, so it was nice just to not be doing that for a change. Well, the rides, I love them, and thank you to the subscriber who suggested that I change my tyres for some faster rollers. It really did make a difference on this ride. What can I say about Runcorn? Runcorn, I was pleasantly surprised. It is a very nice little stretch of canal. The paths are well maintained. It's lovely, it has countryside, it has wildlife. There are the odd signs of antisocial behaviour that does tend to crop up in urban areas, but overall, just a nice little stretch of canal. So what a great start to a great ride. Hi there, hello, nice boat. There you go, that's a first for me. Migratory toads, February through to April. And we are now just starting March. So it's migratory toad weather. You never know, we might see some. I am a toad and I live in a hole. Hey. There's just like the earliest indicators of spring. This morning when I was getting the bike ready, little poochie pew on there. This morning when I was getting the bike ready, there was almost a dawn chorus. I could hear the birds just getting a little bit more vocal. And believe me, I know, because I'm always up in the mornings early. And you can see all the ducks just starting to get into that behaviour where everyone's starting to think about pairing off. It still looks very wintry, but there's just those little clues just starting to emerge. If you look for them hard enough, you can see them. And it just fills me with excitement for the summer, because I just feel like everyone's a little bit happier in the summer, myself included, but it just makes everything a little bit better. So yeah, very excited for that. Anyway, let's crack on with this ride. Not too far to go. What do you mean not too far to go? Got miles to go. But you know what I mean. I don't even know what I mean. I'll end it here. Biter incoming. Are you a friendly ankle biter? Oh. Hey. No, don't you bite me. Okay, you're friendly. Come here. Yeah. You give. I couldn't read him then. I couldn't read him. What's he called? Winston. Gave me a bit of a shock, mate. He's a monster. Ah, reminds me of my dog. Yeah. Winston, are you guarding your boat?
Yeah, he's just too friendly, that's the trouble.
Have you been having any problems with the breach further up?
Well, I was there.
Oh, were you there? Joe, can I speak to you about it? Is that all right? So you were up near the breach then when it happened?
That's where my moorings is at Little Bollington there. And we woke up and looked out the window and we're 4 foot below where we should have been. You know, sort of hard on the bottom.
I saw some on YouTube, it looked really dramatic. Did you have any clue what was going on?
There was only one thing that it could be. You know, it had to be a breach. There's nothing else it could be. You know, there's only a limited number of things can actually happen, and it was obvious what it was, and it was very close to the first breach, which was in the 1970s, the early 1970s.
Well, lovely to meet you. Thanks very much for speaking to us. Yeah.
Winston. Oh, God.
There we go. Okay, right. See you later. As I left Winston to take on the next intruder, I just thought to myself, that's an absolutely amazing story, and how thankful I am that I was able to hear that, so thank you. On to the next part of the journey, which is where I discover the huge issue. This is the reason I cannot recommend that you try to cycle this canal in its entirety, and the reason is that Peel Holdings, the company that own this canal, have excluded cycling for a huge portion of the ride, meaning you can't do it in one all on the canal. On the day, that was pretty tricky for me because it's poorly signposted. It doesn't say how long the cycling exclusion's for. GPS kept trying to send me back onto the canal because it didn't recognise the exclusion. Locals didn't even know the exclusion was in place because the signage wasn't great, and that applies to walkers and cyclists alike. So maybe get some better, more prominent no cycling signs. So what would I do if I did this again? Well, what I would do is I'd head off at Acton Grange Bridge, go onto the Trans-Pennine Trail, follow that all the way to Altrincham, where I could get back onto the canal again. On the day, I find myself just going back and forth to the canal to work out whether I could go back on. There's lots of things I could have done differently. There's a website for the canal which has a few errors on it. It turns out Peel have funding to improve cycleways, which they've only spent on some small parts of the canal. I have reached out to them for comment on that to see whether they do intend on investing in opening cycling up on other parts of the canal, and if they do ever respond, I will let you know. So anyway, onwards and upwards. Yeah, that's limb stocks. Might end up in those because I'm having a bit of confusion. So my sat nav said, the route planner, that I could cycle on the canal, but then there's a lot of no cycling signs. Yeah, very confused. So yeah, best not end up in the old stocks at Lim. So right, let's keep going. Once again, I returned to the canal to see this location. Something had happened here on a magnitude that has not occurred since the 70s. In the morning on the 1st of January 2025, boaters were awoken to the sound of rushing water, their boats listing. When they looked outside, they knew it could only be one thing: the canal had breached. And this breach was not insignificant. It was actually declared a major incident. An entire embankment had been blown away by the water, and it spilled out into the surrounding areas, flooding it. And it is just lucky that nobody was actually moored at the location of the breach, because this could have been a very different story. So when I was there on the day, it was drawing people from far and wide, and it looks super sketchy, super dangerous. So if you want to come out and check it out, you know, it's worth a look, but I would just personally stay behind the barriers. It's up to you though. I ain't the canal police. Right, there's a little tunnel here that goes under the canal, so like a little mini viaduct. So I'm hoping I can follow this and go into the town, because obviously I can't go through that we've just seen. I've seen this truck on someone else's YouTube video actually. It's I think they're having to pump all the sewage out, because when it went, it took out a sewage line. So this has been here pretty much 24/7. Having seen the breach, my eyes were now set on Altrincham. Why Altrincham? Well, because I'd now worked out this is where I could start cycling on the canal again, and this wouldn't be a bike trekking with Carl video if I wasn't getting lost and stuck in little back streets and things, so yeah, here you go. But I did get there eventually. That's where having narrow handlebars is going to work. Is this going to work for me? Oh no. The car is not going to work for me. Of course. Okay. Oh. And finally, I hit Altrincham. This was where I could start cycling on the canal towpath again, and the ride just becomes easier. And what they have done with this area is really impressive. The canal towpaths are well maintained, they're nice and wide. There's so much to do here. There's like little barges on the water selling food, pubs and little cafes just off the canal towpath. There was a park that you could go in and, you know, look at steam trains and things. I mean, really, this is what a canal could be in an urban area if everybody's on board. This was somewhere I would happily bring my family and my child for a day out. So, you know, I can't give it higher praise than that. So really highly recommended. I just went past somebody magnet fishing, then I asked him what's like the best thing you found, and he goes, oh, guns, knives. Sorry, you don't know what magnet fishing is. It's where you throw a big rope into the water with a big magnet on the end of it, and then it kind of pulls stuff out. But yeah, he said he's found guns, grenades, 300 bullets. I don't know, I think it's some sort of ammunition dump. But yeah, if you're watching this, you're not from England, we don't really have guns and things here. It's not like a common thing. Well, maybe it's more common than I think. Well, there you go, that's interesting. It's like a lot of shipping containers. This has got to be Old Trafford now, this, hasn't it? That's a go past the United grounds at some point, I reckon. I'm sure everybody loves United, yeah? You all love them? All United fans? Bet you are. Not controversial. Right, let's check it out. What's going on down here then? Everyone's here. Smell food. Smell scram. So is it some sort of United? Oh, it's a pub or something. Howdy. So I have to admit, before arriving at the Stretford, Old Trafford area, I did have some reservations. I was a bit concerned, especially with the experiences I've had in the Manchester area on the Rochdale Canal. However, it was fine. It was just normal people. It was perfectly pleasant. Don't get me wrong, there were signs of antisocial behaviour, such as burnt out motorbikes, rubbish, beer cans. So, you know, I know this area is very far from being 100% safe all of the time, but overall I had a good experience. Now, as the ride drew to an end and it was time to put a big old bow on this thing, I did my usual self-reflective thing. And the ride as a whole, the canal, it's brilliant. I mean, it's such a nice canal. I think it is a huge shame that a huge portion of it has been closed down to cycling, especially when the company that owns it has been the recipient of funding from governments and charities, specifically to improve cycling in certain. So it's been a fantastic ride, absolutely amazing. So let's just bring this thing to a close as we hit glorious Castlefield. That is it, the entire Bridgewater Canal. One day, one bike. So it was 48 kilometres, there or thereabouts. I had to hop off and on it quite a lot due to the very confusing no cycling areas. So it's probably added more to the journey. But yeah, we're back in Castelfield, and I'm going to hide my keyring here somewhere as well, because I forgot to do it on the ride. So where can I stash it? Find somewhere. I'll be back in a second. Okay, if you are ever in Castelfield and you're in this area, this is near Edmund's Ship Way, and there is a little car park just across from it, and there's some little barriers. And I'm going to hide it. I hide it in here. And there she is. She's just hidden there. So there we go. What did you reckon of that ride? Let me know in the comments. So thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Goodbye. Bye. Now the mercy of Manchester's extremely confusing cycle lanes, which are absolute crap. Excuse my language, but they are. They're like the worst. You ever want to know how not to do cycle lanes, just come have a look at Manchester, because no one's got a clue.